Andy, my dude, have you heard of the magical website builder known as Squarespace?
Ugh, not another Squarespace ad. I feel like every podcast is sponsored by them.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Yes, okay, it is overhyped, but actually it lives up to the hype. Squarespace is like a website fairy godmother. With a click of a button, your site transforms into a beautiful masterpiece.
A website fairy godmother? That sounds interesting. What makes it so magical?
Well, for starters, those slick templates make anyone look like a professional web designer. Pick one, customize the colors and fonts to match your brand, and voila. Plus, the drag-and-drop Fluid engine is so easy, your grandma could build a site on Squarespace.
Well, she did knit me a lovely scarf last Christmas. Maybe website design is next.
Exactly. And when you're ready to sell your Nana's handmade scarves online, Squarespace has built-in e-commerce. Add a store with one click. Get flexible payment options. Then watch those sales roll in. And when she wants to teach others her steezy scarf skills, Squarespace's new courses feature is just the ticket. Nana can set up her curriculum and enrollments and payments in a snap and become the next e-knitting influencer.
Oh, wow, you really sold me with the grandma angle. Sign me up for that free trial.
Just go to thenextreel.com/Squarespace and transform your site into a beautiful Squarespace masterpiece.
Well, thanks, Pete. Even though it's overhyped, Squarespace actually sounds perfect for Nana's site's needs. Appreciate the warning on the ads, though. I'll brace myself next time I listen to a podcast.
Anytime. Let me know if you need any help getting that site up and running. Andy, can you believe we've almost hit 700 episodes of The Next Reel?
I know, it's crazy. And with all the other episodes in our family of podcasts, we are well over 1,200 episodes of movie conversation. It's really pretty amazing that we've gotten to have these in-depth movie chats every week for over a decade now.
And we couldn't have done it without our loyal community of film fans. Their support over the years has meant so much.
For sure. That reminds me, we should give the merch store a shout out. Buying shirts from thenextreel.com/merch is a great way listeners can continue to support the show. Plus, they get to sport our great designs.
Absolutely. I think sometimes folks forget we have a variety of shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more available. In fact, a great place to start is with a shirt sporting the Next Reel's logo.
We also have that classic Fast Times Spicoli Surf School tee, or the weirdly popular Rusty's European Tour shirt.
The one from National Lampoon's European Vacation. Why is that so popular?
Search me, but we have sold a ridiculous number of those. I guess there are a lot of Rustys taking trips to Europe?
We're always adding new designs based on movies we've covered, like our brand new design for a streetcar named Desire, featuring a streetcar named Desire. So if you want to rep your love of TNR and films, head to thenextreel.com/merch.
Every purchase helps us continue to have these weekly in-depth conversations. So visit thenextreel.com/merch today.
And as always, thanks for listening and being a part of the Next Reel community. We've got lots more great movie chats coming your way. I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to The Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Clueless is over. It's a full-on Monet. It's like a painting. See, from far away, it's okay, but up close, it's a big old mess.
What the hell is that?
A dress.
Says who?
Calvin Klein.
What are you doing? Yo, you getting on the freeway! Get out of the street!
You go, girl.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. Whatever. Did I miss something? This big hair back? Amber, my plastic surgeon doesn't want me doing any activity where balls fly at my nose.
Well, there goes your social life.
I'm gonna be a supermodel.
Clueless, Andy. Now, this one, different from our last 90s comedy movie, is funny. Do you agree?
Funny then, funny now, as opposed
Yeah.
to last week's funny then, as memory serves, maybe doesn't quite work so well now. Yes.
Yeah, right. What'd you think?
Good old Amy Heckerling. We talked about a lot of her films early at the beginning of this season, and now we're swinging back to reconnect with her. The only thing that between all the stuff that we've talked about, which is her first 4 films, and this is the sequel, Look Who's Talking 2.
Right.
So I think what I really enjoy about Heckerling is the way that she taps into young characters and just finds a way to identify with kind of the time. And while this is definitely not designed to be a film like Fast Times, which is more, I mean, it's definitely fun. It's definitely crazy and funny and everything. But also there are a lot more serious undertones in that particular film. This film isn't that. If anything, it's more kind of the high school romantic comedy sort of thing, especially with the connections to Emma. And so it definitely feels different than Fast Times, but there is still that sense of Amy Heckerling tapping into the kind of the essence of characters at this age, kind of like what John Hughes also was doing like in the 80s. So it's not my favorite film, but I really enjoy what she's doing here.
Yeah, I think that's where you and I are approaching this film differently, particularly in the context of Fast Times. That Fast Times as representative of 80s high school and Clueless as representative of 90s high school, and the comedy therein, I'm sure it says something about me that I vastly prefer Clueless over Fast Times.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't understand, like, when I look at those two films together, like I don't know if it's, I don't know what it means that I am sort of a child of the 80s and more of a fan of this 90s version of it when I, was already sort of, I don't know, it came out in 95. I was in college.
Right. But I mean, you were in grade school when Fast Times came out. So
right.
I mean, we're kind of in the middle between the two sets of high school
we're the
students.
Sandwich generation for these movies.
But I would say if there was a generation that, we were closer to, it was certainly this group of kids.
Right.
As far as, I mean, because, I mean, we're seeing high school and some college kids. And so I feel like this is tapping in a little closer to our age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go. Clueless.
All right. Well, let's jump right into this then. When the movie came out, it was rated PG-13 for sex-related dialogue and some teen use of alcohol and drugs. Want to watch this movie and help us out? Well, you can. If you see an Apple or an Amazon link to the movie in the show notes, just click on it. It will take you right to their site, and you can rent or buy the movie. When you do this, we actually get a little piece in return, as do the filmmakers, as do the studio, and Amazon and Apple. Everyone makes out good, and you get the movie. So, in a way, everybody wins.
In a way, that is the way that everybody wins. What is the merch for this movie, Andy? What are we going to put up for this one?
I feel like it's one of the many outfits. Like, remember those? Here's what it is. The little mix and match outfit computer program that she has with the little cuts. But those books that you had as a kid where it's like you turn the page and you can change the heads or the middles or the bottoms of different animals or things or people. It's that sort of thing. But it's like a mix and match of just different outfits.
I think it's like a lookbook on a shirt. It's a lookbook on a shirt. Yeah,
exactly.
That's good. That's good. Okay, so that's what's going to be at truestory.fm/DNR merch. You can get stickers, mugs, masks, pillows. Yeah, we'll get there. Hey, we're going on our little July hiatus coming up, and we've got just a lot of time to make merch for last year. It's going to be great. We should maybe also get ahead. That would be stellar if we were able to do that. And you can get it on anything else that we're coming up with in our TeePublic store. And like everything else, if you get something there, like maybe Rusty's world tour
European
tour. He's very busy. Or the Spicoli Surf Shop shirt. We get a sniff. We get just a little sniff right off the top. Or the Coolidge, Heckerling, and Associates comedy of the comedy series shirt. It's got the little mask on it. It's really adorable.
And
it's also kind of a law firm, which delights me. And so there you go. TrueStory.fm/TNR merch.
We would love to feature audio reviews from you, our dear listeners. Just send us your audio file to reviews@truestory.fm once you watch the movie. And we just may end up showcasing your voice on the show. We do record about 2 weeks in advance, so you got to get your clip in early. And again, you're sending it to reviews@truestory.fm. It's probably too late to be sending in anything for this season, but start getting ahead for next season, and you can send those reviews in to us.
But wait, Andy, though, how would I possibly do that? Because I don't even know what you're going to be talking about next season. Where would I possibly go?
It's a mystery.
I think I might have an answer. It's you go to our favorite social network for movie lovers, and that's Letterboxd. And if you visit our HQ page on Letterboxd, letterboxd.com/thenextreel, you will see all of the movies we're going to be talking about next year, from August 1st through June, the end of June next year. We got the whole year. It's going to be up there. It's up there already, right now. You can go see it. And you can start recording your reviews a year in advance if you want. We don't care. But you're going to get there and you're going to be like, God, there are ads on the site. Why do I want ads? I don't want ads on the site. And we have a solution for that too. If you upgrade your membership to Pro or Patron at Letterboxd, using our code NEXTREEL at checkout, we're going to save you 20% on your membership, and you're going to get rid of the ads, and you're going to know you're supporting a fantastic Kiwi crew making this app and service. They're fantastic. They're great people. And again, like everything else, we get a little sniff, just a little bump, just a little sniff right off the top of your patronage. And it works for renewals as well. Again, use the code NEXTREEL at checkout.
Just like Letterboxd, we have our own membership, and members, aside from being wonderful people and supporting the show and what we do so we can keep the lights on and keep cranking these things out, members also get all sorts of fantastic stuff. They get early access to every episode that we release. They get a ton of bonus episodes. We do a monthly member bonus episode. For June, our members voted on a return to our 1981 series, and we're going to be doing Body Heat from 1981. And members can vote on that, as I said. We also do a Flickchart re-ranking episode, and we do a retake episode after each series where we kind of talk about our thoughts from the series as a whole. You can learn more at truestory.fm/TNR membership. The most it'll cost you is $5 per month or $55 per year.
So Clueless is a great film, but I can't be the only one to notice that the Travis character is really just copied and pasted Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Even the actor playing him is this Sean Penn lookalike, and their stoned intonations like, totally identical, bro. Anyway, I do like how Cher is both an idiot and quite smart, but I was also thinking watching this that if Harry Potter had really wanted to find the Philosopher's Stone to create the elixir of life, he should have just chased down Paul Rudd. Dude is ageless.
So, okay, Andy, here we are on Clueless. Amy Heckerling, written and directed, and starring Alicia Silverstone, Stacey Dash, Brittany Murphy, Paul Rudd, and
little baby Paul,
little baby Donald Faison, baby, and Breckin Meyer. Yeah,
Breckin Meyer, Jeremy Sisto, Wallace Shawn, Dan Hedaya. I mean, it's a big cast, lots of faces.
Alicia Silverstone was born in 76, you said, right?
Correct.
Yeah, October 1976. And Breckin Meyer was born in 1974. But you know, they went to Beverly High School together in real life?
I did, yeah.
That's fancy.
Yeah, so did Seth Green, and yeah.
And Seth Green, right? Seth Green. All kids of the of the 70s. That's fun.
I think Stacey Dash was the oldest of the group.
She was like 28 when she did this movie? Is that right?
She was born in 67. Brittany Murphy was 77. Paul Rudd is 69. So he was playing a college student. So at least he was a little closer in age. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I thought they pulled it off. So the first question is, you're casting, casting for a high school movie. Does everybody pull off the ages? And I think they do. For me, they totally pulled it off.
Me too, completely. And Stacey Dash was the biggest surprise. I would have said she was as young as all the other people.
Yes.
No idea that she was a full, almost 10 years older. So than some of these characters. It's crazy. Really crazy.
Yeah, right. The other name we didn't mention is Justin Walker, who hasn't. I don't know. I mean, he plays Christian, and he's still. He's got a few things. He took about 20 years off.
Yeah, I think.
Is that about right? Like the last thing he did was 2003, a short.
2005, he did something called Takeout. I'm not really sure.
Oh, see, I'm seeing that as 2022 on IMDb.
Oh, interesting. On Wikipedia, it lists that as a 2005 project. So
interesting.
Yeah, no idea.
He's not doing much. I thought he was very charming. We'll talk about him in a moment. But anyway, that's in terms of the cast. I think they pull off the high school parts. I didn't have anybody that looked wildly out of context in this thing.
No, yeah.
So this is a takeoff of Emma, placed in Beverly Hills High. And are you a big fan of the Austen?
I like certain Austen properties. I don't know if I would really call myself out as a Jane Austen file.
Mm-hmm.
Like Pride and Prejudice, the Joe Wright version is my favorite. I really just absolutely adore that film. But also Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility. Those two I find to be incredibly strong pieces. Emma, I've enjoyed. I don't think I ever saw the Gwyneth Paltrow one, but I saw the very recent one that was done with the one with Anya Taylor-Joy.
Yes.
Yes. I saw that. So I definitely enjoyed that version. I think Anya Taylor-Joy did a great job as the character. But I don't seek out Jane Austen properties just because it's a Jane Austen property. Generally, it's something else that draws me to it. So honestly, I didn't see Clueless until 2 years ago or so, or last year. It was just something that I missed. And so I kind of knew that it was a loose adaptation of Emma, but I don't think, again, it's not the Jane Austen factor wasn't something that was pulling me in to make me want to watch this.
Yeah, I am sure when I first saw it, I didn't even know it was connected to Emma, right? I mean, I didn't.
Well, it's not called out.
Attention.
It's not based on Jane Austen's Emma. That's nowhere. And I think it's interesting because Amy Heckerling didn't even intentionally write this necessarily that way, but as she was working on the property in different iterations, TV and stuff, she realized, there's an element to that, and she reread it and was like, I'm kind of pulling some of those elements of this character into this story. And I think that's where she kind of grabbed onto that and made it a little more so, but it was never the initial intention.
Right. According to Twink Kaplan, who plays Miss Geist and was also a producer on the thing, she says this thing went through many different iterations, that it started out as a TV property and bounced around. Nobody wanted to buy it, bounced around, finally came back around to this film and ended up at Paramount. But her take on it was that it didn't really find its own until it became this Emma story, and was the one that just felt completely natural to the production and completely natural to Heckerling as a project. She said it just all the jokes clicked, everything started to make sense, and I can see that. It just, to me, it just feels sort of hand to glove. I think it's a very natural property, and I think they pull it off. There's nothing that feels antiquated or sort of archaic in the way they do it. Even as you get through the artifice of she's now, going into these makeover projects for these teachers, and the way she litigates with her teachers as a result of her relationship with her attorney dad. All of those things feel very natural and funny, even in their own sense of alternate universe artifice. It just all works for me.
I think that there's an element of, and one of the reasons that it works is because in that the concept of Emma is this woman who is, positive, and this perpetual matchmaker trying to fix people up, and while always struggling with her own love life. And I think that concept that Jane Austen came up with, it has that very kind of rom-com feel, and putting it into this high school character who's just, that's what Amy Heckerling was really drawn to, is writing a character that is just nothing but positivity, and always, is taking this positive outlook in things. And I really like that about Cher. And I think that's an interesting element, the way that we have this character who just is incredibly positive. And yes, she's wanting to initially start matchmaking so that she can get better grades. It kind of starts that way, where it's like, what can I do to get a better grade from my teacher? And so, yes, there is kind of a selfish motivation, but it becomes that thing that kind of turns into something more for her, as she realizes, there's something great about this, and wanting to take Ty, who's just kind of, when she shows up, this is Brittany Murphy's character. She's just, she's got terribly dyed hair. She's wearing the very 90s outfit, kind of, it was the worst of the 90s, like that sort of outfit that we were all probably wearing, and wants to do a makeover and help her. And that's really where it starts. And I found, I think in context of what Heckerling latched onto with the character and her motivations in the book, and translating it into this high school story, it just worked. It found a home that felt very natural in the story here.
One of the things I think is really interesting about this movie, and maybe it's just, maybe it's dated, maybe it's just the way it's dated, is that it is a movie that is about extraordinary wealth, right? We're in Beverly Hills. It's definitely a Southern California story. And every time we see Cher, she is, she's wearing some new outfit. She's doing this crazy matchmaking computer thing about all of her clothes and fashion. She's with other kids who clearly have a lot of wealthy signs of her wealth, like the fact that her daddy bought her a car to learn to drive on, and she just takes off driving it without a license. Like, that's all played for comic effect. And I wonder how well this movie would have played had it been released today, when cultural tides have turned a little bit against extraordinary wealth, and the way the dynamic has shifted, playing like one of the things that I think is so effortless about this movie is how it makes Cher a sympathetic character, in spite of the fact that she's we're in this atmosphere of extraordinary, exuberant wealth. What do you think about that? That hit you at all?
Not a ton. It's definitely something that's there. However, it's not a great comparison, but in last week's episode, we were talking about Suzanne Bier's film After the Wedding. And in that film, there's a very, very rich character who uses his money and his position to kind of manipulate a bunch of people and get them into a particular situation. But you brought up on that show that it's not necessarily the money as the bad guy just because he's got all this money and is doing these things. It's kind of that, and I can't remember the way that you described it, but it's like that use of money that is just, you don't even realize, the way that you're able to use money to get what you need,
Yeah. that sort of thoughtless privilege.
Yeah, right. There's definitely that in this. It's interesting because in the world of cinematic storytelling, I think there are often characters that have more money, and it just makes it easier for, in context of a film, to tell the story they're wanting to tell because they're able to just get the things that they need to in context for the story to happen, and
oh yeah, it just makes easy narrative choices.
Right. You don't have to worry about that. And I think, you'll see a lot of movies where, murder mysteries or whatever it is, where they're just rich people, and it makes for, it almost is just a setting, and it becomes less of an issue about, pointing out issues between classes or anything like that.
Sure.
And so I think there's an element of that. I think because Cher is just so kind of positive and casual, I don't think it is quite as much of an issue. But I do think that, I think they could still make this film today, and I don't think it would be an issue, but I do think there would be elements that they brought into the script to just have some more commentary about that than you necessarily needed to in the mid-90s.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think you add on this other layer of it, which is that, Cher, who has cultivated this sort of air of she's worldliness through fashion and culture. It's the same sort of thing that we get with Legally Blonde. Like we have this sort of character that is brighter than book smarts, right? And what a great example in her, anytime she's in Mr. Hall's class in one of her debates, right? Talking about the trials of the Haitians, which, as an aside, apparently they did not expect Alicia to say Haitians. That's not how it was scripted, and they just didn't correct her. She didn't know how to
pronounce Haitians, right?
That it was pronounced Haitians, and I think that is meta delightful. But as a character, it's really it really highlights the fact that this is just like obscene wealth and with a layer of inanity, stupidity that is that we appreciate because of charm. And I think you're right. I think that's a thing that they get away with because the movie is from 25 years ago, 27 years ago. Good Lord. And as an artifact of history, it is one thing. But you're right; it would have to be addressed. I think if it were made today
in some capacity. I mean, it's definitely a thing. I mean, I think any of those sorts of movies. I mean, Overboard or things like that, where there's a definite kind of bifurcation of social status. I think it's definitely something where you're going to get like telling those stories nowadays. There will need to be some lines addressing that.
So in terms of that angle, right? Cher we like Cher because she is charming, and we let all the other stuff, sweep under the rug. Let's talk then about Brittany Murphy, because Brittany Murphy becomes the primary, vector for the big makeover. And Brittany Murphy's introduction, as you said, she shows up on the tennis court. She's the new kid. And what did you think of her performance here?
I mean, I love her, and this is, I think, something that I find works so well with all of the characters as brought to life by Amy Heckerling and these actors is they tapped into a real authenticity of the characters. And even if I don't necessarily, I like the character is not somebody who's portrayed as somebody you're best friends with, like Amber, for example, I still feel like I know who that character is. Brittany Murphy comes in, and I feel like she was this. She comes across as that kind of very positive girl who is new in town and doesn't know who to hang with, and the way that she ends up like connecting and everything with Cher and Dion. It just feels authentic, and I really enjoy that with her character and that sense of joy that she gets in people, wanting to take her under their wing and help her out. And so she was just, she's just so sweet and and happy with everything. I really enjoyed the way that her character plays, and the fact that there's a clear connection between her and Breckin Meyer's character, which, I mean, it's funny that, Cher kind of keeps pushing her away from him because he's one of the stoners, but that's really the connection that needs to happen. And I like how that becomes something for Cher to finally realize that there can be something there. Like the way that everything unfolded, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, the fact that she keeps pushing him toward Jeremy Sisto's character, who's a Nightmare Factory, and
good old Elton, yeah,
and misses the fact that there's already a match to be made. I think is fascinating. It is Brittany Murphy's portrayal. It takes me a while every time I watch this movie to get into her character. At first, I find her kind of obnoxious. She has that same sort of innocence that Cher has, but for some reason comes off as obnoxious. And I'm sure that's part of the transformation, right? That's part of the project, that she is obnoxious and Cher needs to go to work on her. I finally kind of figure out my relationship as an audience member with her when she starts doing Rollin' with the Homies at the party. Because I really struggle with her in the beginning. I struggle.
You just don't like Jersey people.
I did time in Jersey.
Maybe that was it. Maybe you felt a little like, oh, it's too close to home. Too close to home.
Yeah. Maybe that was it. I just find that it is interesting that she has the same sort of obnoxiousness and not as much of the charm that Cher has, and so I struggle with that.
Well, and maybe that's why, because I completely agree, but maybe that's why I find her to be a perfect character for that role, right? She's the one who, she has the same things, feels a little different, feels a little more rough around the edges. It makes sense why Cher would want to latch onto her. It also makes sense why later in the film, she's the one, like there's antagonism in their relationship.
Yeah, she becomes a monster.
Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting and why that character works so well for me.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other characters in particular, so Stacey Dash, you already mentioned as Dion, the old lady of the mix.
Yes.
The elder statesman.
Older than even Paul Rudd.
It's interesting to watch her in this movie because of her sort of modern reputation and her ideology, which I so radically disagree with. Everything about her. She's still super charming in this movie, and I love the relationship between Silverstone and Dash. It's hard not to love their vapid little connection.
She works well in context as like the best friend, and she doesn't have as much going on with her. She's just kind of the sounding board for everything that Cher is doing.
Yeah, but
it works well, and we also do get the great kind of adorable relationship that she has with Donald Faison's character, and I like the fact that it's it feels like kind of that high school relationship of people just kind of sorting out the way that they're going to work together, if they're going to work together. And he seems, if there's anyone that really feels like an actual high school student, it's Donald Faison, who just, he is just like a goof and like is making decisions rashly, like deciding to shave his head, and the way that he says things about, her being a woman and whatever that thing that he says at some point.
Keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. I'm keeping it real. When he's getting his head shaved.
Oh, he's
dying.
He is a piece of work. He is very funny. So
yeah, I think it is, and he is designed to be obnoxious and designed to be that sort of immature high school boy.
Yeah,
trying to reach. I don't often I look at it and I think, I don't understand why she puts up with him, like why she puts up with just how obnoxious he is. And,
but I think that speaks to that high school connection. Like there's that obnoxiousness with the characters and the sense of playing the roles that they need to play with their cliques and everything. But also I feel like there's that sense of, and I think that Cher says it at one point, like when the way that they react, like the sincerity and the love they show to each other when they don't think anyone else is looking or something like that, and it speaks to kind of that sense of connection that they actually have as people. And so I definitely, I enjoy them as characters together.
I do too. It is, the whole conversation they have about woman, he keeps calling her woman and she says, I don't like it. And then he justifies it with like woke speech, is that is one piece that really sticks out at me as a kind of a sore thumb, like how that was written. That is a dated commentary. And I don't think that would play, anymore in a contemporary film. Because it says so much more about him than that language was ever intended to communicate, right? As a joke. Today, I think that speech is more loaded.
Yes, I think so. But I think because it's coming out of that particular character's mouth, I think it ends up, I don't know, it feels written. But also, I think that there's something very funny and obnoxious about it. And
yeah,
if there's anything about it, I mean, I think it's designed to be kind of that obnoxious and poking at stereotypes. And I think if they were to rework it for modern audiences, I think that he would be finding a way to still be acknowledging his love for her while poking at kind of the modern wokeness of not doing that.
Well, and truth be told, she would be the one to be rewritten, right? He can have that language and that worldview all they want, but she would have a stronger response to that language. I think that's the part that would be rewritten. I don't think they would change his language at all. I think that describes who he is. It's part of the gag, and it's part of his immaturity. It's part of him trying to be something that he's not. He's posing, right? And that's the point.
Yeah,
which is great.
We also have we mentioned baby Paul Rudd, but yeah, Paul Rudd is playing Josh. This is Cher's ex-stepbrother and the one that she ends up falling for in the end. She has her revelation in front of the lit up fountain, which is a great little moment. But yeah, this is that moment this is that character that he is a college student. He is kind of above her and all, and he's the one who kind of points out all of the obnoxiousness with everything that she's doing and the way that she talks and all that sort of stuff, but also actually has a genuine connection with her, and so he plays it great, and it's Paul Rudd. I mean, come on,
yeah,
it's hard not to love the guy.
Yeah, he's really playing Paul Rudd. Right? This feels like the least of a stretch for in terms of performances in this movie. I think he's fantastic. He is like as generic, kind, comedic as they come. I like him a lot. How does the ex step-brother relationship hit home for you still?
Well, I mean, it's always one of those things. Inevitably, I'm sure that it happens. They're not actually related. Their parents are no longer married, and they weren't married for that long anyway, as it sounds. I mean, my impression is that it was Cher's first and only stepmom. Her real mom had died. This was her first stepmom. It didn't last very long, but it was his third stepdad or father figure, right? Because he said she's on husband number 4 right now.
Right.
So I don't think that there's a strong connection. It's not like they were, married for decades and they grew up together. It was a very short period of time. And so I think it's okay, the fact that they're together. Inevitably, again, it's not like there's nothing illegal about it. It's not like they're a real brother and sister. It's just less awkward because their parents had been married for such a short period of time.
Yeah. Is it legal? She was under 18, right? She was 16.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying when they get married.
Yeah.
That if they got married, I'm saying
if they got married.
It's not like, a brother and sister actually, getting married or anything. That's what I mean by legalities.
I told you. Did I tell you about my friends in the real life?
You did.
Friends I had? That's awful. They were dating, and then their parents got married, and then they were steps, broke them up. Rough story.
Yeah, I would be upset at my parents.
That.
But you know what? That's on the parents. They should have just gotten married anyway and said,
it's on the parents.
You did this to yourselves. We were here first.
Weird name thing. Like, what would you even do? Yeah, we were here first.
Think about the party stories they would be able to tell if they went ahead and did that. Yeah,
they should have a double wedding. That would have been what they should have done, is a double wedding.
Man, that would have been great.
Gross.
But it's not. Like, why? They're not related.
No, it's right. They're not related.
Societal,
I know.
It's a legal bunch of paperwork that's putting it there.
Fight the construct.
Exactly.
You got to fight the construct.
We need that shirt now. That's the Clueless shirt. Fight the construct.
It's just with wedding rings. A handful of wedding rings. Just all the wedding rings. Okay. So we like Paul Rudd. And then we obviously have the stoner. I mentioned Breckenmeyer. I think he's one of those guys that is so charismatic on screen. I like him a lot. I feel like I haven't seen enough of his stuff. I've seen all of his like 2000 stuff, like Road Trip and Rat Race and the comedies where he's sort of the secondary character. He was also in the last, or not last, but Freddy's Dead. Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It was fun to see him there. I don't think I have seen him in just about anything else since then. It's been a lot of years.
You're not a fan of the Garfield films?
Oh, you're right.
I
guess I have seen him in but the Garfield films, when were those? Early 2000s?
2004, 2006.
Right? Yeah. So again, early 2000s. And I guess I've seen him do his bits in Robot Chicken with Seth Green. Fun. But after that, not a whole lot. And I say that because he's done a lot since then, right? He's done a lot of TV, Designated Survivor,
TV,
Supermansion, The Fix. It's not like he's not a busy guy. But I just haven't been keeping up.
Yeah, I think that's going to be true with most of the people, other than Paul Rudd, but most of the people in this. Like, I just haven't been following their careers, but I see them in things off and on. And he's certainly one of those people that, like you, it was the 90s, early 2000s that I saw him in different projects that he was in, but nothing since. I think the last thing I saw him in was probably Rat Race in 2001. So, yeah.
Yeah,
but I do enjoy him, just like you. Yeah,
it is interesting. I know we're going to be talking about briefly. We'll talk about the TV show that ran, and he is one of the characters or one of the actors who did make a brief leap into the TV show. He played Travis in the movie, and he plays Harrison in one episode of the TV show. I haven't watched any of the TV show, so I think that's interesting. I think the only person who made a more significant play in the TV show was Amber. Elisa Donovan plays the same character in the TV show. So anyhow, interesting to see that.
Yeah, and talking about the grown-ups a little bit, Dan Hedaya is Cher's dad. What they wanted for this was a character who kind of scared everybody except for Cher, and they had a great relationship. And I laughed so hard when Cher is sitting at her table with Ty, and Ty's sitting at the head of the table, and Cher's like, "Daddy, this is my new friend Ty. Get out of my seat!" Like, and how fast Ty moved out of the seat. I laughed so hard. I mean, Dan Hedaya, like, he was channeling his character from Joe vs. the Volcano. It was just so funny to watch him as this rough, gruff lawyer dad. And, and it worked. Like, they had such a great relationship when he was like praising her for talking her way up from a C+ to an A- with her teachers, like all of that stuff. Like, I just loved that father-daughter relationship. It was just fantastic.
My favorite bit was when she comes down in that white, like, slip dress and he says, "What are you wearing? Get out of that. Put something on over that. It looks like underwear." And she says, without any indication of parental shame, "Oh, Daddy, I was about to," and puts on that flimsy, like,
see-through
little thing that see-through little overshirt, which does nothing, and he lets her go. I thought that was just a treat. But you then get that little nod in that same scene when Josh says, "I'm going to go watch her. I'll keep an eye on her," and leaves. And it cuts to Dad giving a longing sort of stare into the middle distance after them and a smile. So, like, who's the real matchmaker here, right? Who's the real matchmaker? It's Dan Hedaya. That's all I'm saying.
He's just great. And then our other two primaries are Wallace Shawn as Mr. Hall and Twink Kaplan, who's also an associate producer and works with Heckerling quite a bit, as Miss Geist.
I love the relationship. I love the great sequence when they do the instant makeover in the hallway for Miss Geist, changing her hair and glasses and putting the shirt around her waist and all that. I thought that was really a delightful little intervention. I thought their relationship is lovely and believable. And Wallace Shawn, what are you going to do? It's Wallace Shawn. He's fantastic. It's a great role for him. Apparently he used to be a teacher, and so it was easy for him to cultivate this particular
to tap into.
Character.
I struggled a little bit initially when the film started with how much lack of control the teachers seemed to have in their classrooms and the way that they ran things. I ended up not struggling quite as much when the report cards were handed out and Cher had a C, because I'm like, well, okay, at least he's grading them appropriately for the amount of work they're putting into the class. That to me, it did feel, I was torn. I'm like, where does this land as far as like the teachers that we've seen in Heckerling's films, like going back to Spicoli and his arguments with his teacher in Fast Times with the teachers here. I mean, it's definitely the more romantic comedy types of teachers that we're having here. Obviously, we're designed to like these two because we're setting them up to fall in love with each other and of course, have the big wedding at the end. But I mean, do you have any thoughts? Like, do you buy into the way that the high school world is captured here, like the actual class structure?
Well, it's the heightened experience, right? I mean, it has to be that sort of heightened classroom chaos, and I think they are good straight people to the comedic foil. And in some cases, it's just very simple. Like the one of my favorites is after Cher does her Hadians thing, Elton, I think Mr. Hall says, anyone have any thoughts about Cher? And Elton says, yeah. I can't find my Cranberry CD. I got to go to the quad before anyone snags it. Those kinds of things I think are really funny because at that moment the Cranberry CD is the most serious thing in the world. I thought that was super relatable. Like I thought that was funny. I could feel that.
Maybe it's the more the fact that the class is just kind of crazy. Everyone's always talking and the teacher doesn't seem to have a firm control. And it particularly comes to a head when Travis gets up to do his little acceptance speech for, which brilliant. I mean, it is very funny. But again, it's one of those things where I'm like, this is a teacher who has zero control of running his actual class. It's, again, you're right. It's heightened. It's designed for the experience in the context of the film.
It's a comic strip version of a classroom.
Yes,
and his speech is great, especially because of the way Shawn just looks at him and lets him have it. Like he just lets him have it. And I think that ends up being a good teacher moment because the kid ends up getting a little bit of praise from his peers, some comic praise. He's a class clown. He's not being that disruptive, all things considered, and I think it's charming. I think it's charming.
Yeah, it's charming because the way Breckenmeyer plays the character, it still irritates me. What are you going to do? That's me.
Yeah. Well,
in teacher mode.
you're the stern teacher. Yeah. Right.
exactly.
That's not good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Justin Walker. We're going to go back to Justin Walker playing Christian because this was one of the elements that I think was also super charming. He is introduced in the classroom, and he is super stylish. He is. We meet him as the one who is the male version of Cher, right? His clothes are fantastic, perfect pressed. He rocks the black T-shirt and slacks look. He is, he is the high school James Dean,
designed as a throwback to the Rat Pack. Really, yeah.
Exactly. And he's got the hat, he's got everything, and I think he is just super smooth. And his whole angle is that he's gay, and that's the comedy, because Cher doesn't see it. And the person who calls it out is Murray, Don Faison. And that is, I think, I found that comedic and charming and sweet ultimately, because they end up becoming friends.
Yeah, although I wish that it didn't feel like they needed to just completely drop the friendship. Like once she said he became my shopping buddy or whatever,
yeah,
that was it. Like we don't see any more of Christian in the story. Like, and so I wish that they had found a way to kind of at least continue that character and make him become like another Ty, another Dion, another person who is part of that kind of core sets of conversation. But once that revelation happens, we really just drop the character. And that was a little disappointing. I didn't feel like that was handled as well as it could have been.
What he was doing there was, and I'm sort of saying this as a thought experiment, that he was there to demonstrate a hole in Cher's worldliness. That she was so on top of everything else, style and culture, and couldn't see around this particular corner, right? And once that was done, narratively, they were done with her.
Done with him.
Done with him. I agree that it would have been nice to have him become, one of the gang, besides a few of the shots that we get with them shopping together, more montagey than substantive. I don't know that I have a problem with the way it was handled. It felt like another chapter, just like after Mr. Hall and Miss Geist get together, we're sort of done with them too. Like they don't become anything.
We get a whole wedding at the end.
Yeah, we get the wedding at the end. But in terms of the overall story, we don't have a whole lot of them. It's like the first chapter is them getting together. The second chapter is introduction of Ty, substantively of Ty, and then we have Christian, and then we go back to the wedding.
Yeah, I just think that there could have been a little more, but it's fine. It's 90s kind of the way that the story is structured. And just like Emma, I guess he would be the Frank Churchill character who secretly was already engaged and she finds out. And so we needed to have that sort of character to kind of break Emma's heart before she finds the Mr. Knightley person that she ends up with. So.
Oh man, look at you dropping like real Emma legit character names. I haven't read that book since college. I would not remember any.
Well, Wikipedia gives you comparisons of which character is which. So without it,
all right,
I wouldn't sound nearly as insightful. Again, it is one of those things, and I do think that it plays well though, and I think that they cast Christian really well. Like I find when I watch him on screen, the way that Justin Walker plays him, he just like I knew guys like that who were so ridiculously stylized that every woman wanted him. And there were guys in my high school and college years who were that way and were completely heterosexual. There were also ones like that who were also homosexual. And so he plays it so well where you can't really tell. And I think that is something that works really well in the movie's favor, that we would buy that Cher and he could end up together.
Did you, so you didn't get at any point that he was gay when he walked in? Like he wasn't too stylish to be heterosexual in that tropey way for you? And I say that complimenting the film, because I do think he was just stylish. And had I not seen the movie, I think I wouldn't have assumed he was gay.
Well, remember, I came into this film not having seen it until like a year or two ago, and I already knew all of this. And so like these were things that had been told, like she falls in love with someone who's actually gay, and like so I knew the story. Nothing was a surprise to me. So it's hard for me to answer that since I kind of already knew the situation.
Okay. All right. Fine. Whatever. Fine. Have we talked enough about Alicia Silverstone herself?
I don't know if we've talked about her a ton, but what I love about the way that she plays this character is, and she actually acknowledged, like when she read the script, she's like, I felt like I was judging this girl for being so materialistic and, you know, connected to like these surface things. But as she got into the character, she realized there was a lot more, and she realized she needed to play it very straight and just stay positive with all of these different things. And that's what brings this character to life. And I mean, whatever issues I have with the film, like she is just, a star being born right here. Like the way she plays the character, it's so easy to fall in love with her. And she's not the sort, like, you know, this rich girl in the high school is not the sort I ever would have associated with in high school. But like the way that she plays it here, I felt like anybody could actually associate with her. Like she is so charming, and I really love her in the role here.
I do too. I think she's fantastic. She is a busy person.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of stuff. I felt like I hadn't seen anything that she had done for many years until we watched Valley Girl.
Yes.
When she ended up in the remake, she ended up as the mom in Valley Girl, older Julie.
Just to be clear, you and I may be the only two fans of that movie, but
yeah, it'd be fine. That's okay. I'll take it. But she's done a lot of stuff apart from the, I think she was discovered from the Aerosmith videos, though she had done a couple things.
That and The Crush.
Just a few things before them.
Yeah.
Then The Crush, right. The Crush in 93.
Well, that was the same year as the first two videos that she did.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
all that same year.
So a lot of stuff, she just kind of blew up. And then, I feel like it was this. Did you see the original Babysitter?
No, I did not.
This was Jeremy London, J.T. Walsh, and Alicia Silverstone. I haven't seen it either, but I feel like there have been a lot of babysitters. So many babysitters.
I think I because I didn't see this at the time, I think it was probably Batman and Robin that introduced me to her, and then stuff like Excess Baggage and Blast from the Past, and she's one of those people who has been in a lot of things. I just haven't seen a lot of the things that she's been in until like Killing of Sacred Deer. She popped up in that, and The Lodge. She popped up in that, and Valley Girl, as you said. But like you also said, she's somebody who never has stopped working. She's just been doing so much stuff I have not ended up watching.
Blast from the Past. So that movie. That was my wedding night movie.
Oh.
Is that a weird thing? Does that thing exist? We were exhausted after our wedding, and we went back to this fancy hotel, and we both collapsed and fell asleep watching Blast from the Past. That was the wedding night. We totally
adorable.
Passed out.
Just adorable.
Yeah. Yeah. And people make a big deal about wedding nights. They really do. A very big deal. I'm telling you, Blast from the Past was enough.
And now you can actually watch Blast from the Past and you go, oh, that's a blast from the past.
Oh, I see what you're doing there. That's awesome. You've done good. And do you have positive memories of Batman and Robin? It is currently a 3.7 on the IMDb scale.
Oh, I do not have positive memories of it.
Yeah.
In which she played Catwoman, right? No. Batgirl.
No.
Batgirl.
That's
one of the animal people. She's an animal person, just like most of the other people in those movies. Okay. So I have a question for you about Alicia Silverstone and this film.
Sure.
How many outfits do you think she wears in this film?
Is this a quiz? Do you have an answer?
It's a quiz.
8.
You think she only wears 8 outfits in this film?
17. 24.
56. 56 costume changes in this film.
What?
56.
What?
Holy cow.
Wow.
I was shocked when I read that. But then I also wasn't, because I'm like, she's always in a new outfit. always in a new outfit. And I think this is a good time to talk a little bit about the costume design for the film, because if there's anything that I think this film spurred on a lot of things. I think a lot of the way that people speak, I think a lot of people were speaking these ways, but I think this really kind of expanded on what people were saying. But I think Mona May and her costume design for this film, like, she found fantastic, unique outfits for the characters that became like a new style, and it really kind of expanded on what people were wanting to wear at the time. And it's so exciting to look at the costumes in this film, because this is one of those things where I would say, this film, 1995, I need to look now at what was in the Academy Awards. I'm going to tell you in a sec what was nominated for Best Costume in 1995, but I want to see what your thoughts are as far as this film fitting into that mix, because I certainly think that it could have.
Let's not forget, I was the guy who just said 8. So I might not be a great vessel for this particular discussion.
These are the films. Restoration, which is a film I know I have heard of. It was the Robert Downey Jr. British period piece. I cannot remember much about it. But Restoration, 12 Monkeys, Best Costume Design, Braveheart, Richard III. This is that fantastic, like, World War II era with Ian McKellen as Richard III.
Ian McKellen. Right.
And Sense and Sensibility. Those are the 5 films nominated for Best Costume Design. I absolutely think this film should have been in the mix. I think the costume design in this film...
What would you have gotten rid of?
I would say Restoration, just because I haven't seen that one. Restoration, Braveheart, Sense and Sensibility, Richard III are all period pieces. They're just recreating period outfits for the films. 12 Monkeys, that's the one that's probably the most unique as far as like coming up with stuff for kind of the future and kind of this, the different periods that he's in.
Right.
I love period pieces often get Best Costume Design because you're creating these past period pieces. And I think that that's fantastic, but I think that there isn't a lot of recognition for putting like as much thought into the costumes in a film like this when you have Stacey Dash coming on that first outfit with like a Dr. Seuss hat. It's like there's something incredibly powerful and creative when you're doing stuff like that. So I would be fine dropping any of the period pieces and just saying, put this in instead. It is as equally important and relevant to have a film like that in the mix.
But my question is, would you have known that? Would you have had the awareness to make those comments 27 years ago? And I think the challenge when you have films like this is that you don't notice the resonance and relevance of the costuming when it's contemporary to the time. I don't think you notice it until some time has passed. I don't think you notice it in time for award season. Like this movie that we can say after a while defined a style, but did we know that at the time? This is just a hunch.
Well, but it doesn't have to be defining a style to be doing something unique with the costumes. And I think when people would watch the movie, just the fact that these high school students are wearing such unique outfits, I think that's enough to make it stand out and say, you know what, we should think about like giving this a nomination. They're doing something unique and creative with with what these students are wearing.
Well, I'm certainly not saying I disagree. I think you're right. And particularly Stacey Dash, like the way they used her character to define the excess in costuming, I think is fantastic. And Cher is kind of right in the middle. Like she's just super fashionable and she just dresses smart. And,
when she talks to the guy mugging her, she's just like, but this is whatever the Araya or whatever the designer is. I can't lie on the ground in this. Just like, that was so just good. So fantastic. I loved it.
So good. It is hilarious. It's hilarious. The way they use fashion in this movie is hilarious. Yeah. So yeah. I agree with you for sure.
Okay. All right. As long as you agree.
All right. Isn't that hard what we shoot for every week? Is that I agree with you. Okay.
All right. Anything else about Heckerling as far as the writing, the dialogue?
First thing I thought of was just it's easiest to compare this to, to Fast Times, and I am amazed at how good she is at adapting her writing to the time. Like the way she captures the voice successfully in Fast Times and then so successfully here of the youth and the period, I think is just really, really, really great. So I loved it. I think she's fantastic.
I just love her as a director, and she's one of those people I feel like doesn't have as many opportunities as she should as a writer-director, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she hasn't directed a film since 2012 when she did Vamps. She has been doing a lot of TV, so at least she's been keeping busy there. But I just feel like for somebody who can tap into these voices and stuff, I just wish that they're and you know, we've been talking about this a lot over the course of this season with these directors. Just because they're women, so often they're not given the opportunities to direct as often as some male directors who likely aren't doing anything nearly as creative as some of these women directors. And so that's frustrating. And so, you know, I just wish that Heckerling was seen by the studios more often as somebody who could deliver some good stuff.
Yeah, but my goodness, you're right. She's got a lot of TV.
Did you watch Royalties at all? I know that was something she did more recently.
Yeah, that's pretty recent, and I didn't. I know we talked about that, and that was a show that felt so right up her alley because it was, you know, it's all about music, and it was music, and it was a hot, you know, actor with Darren Criss, actor and performer off of Glee and his own music career, you know, talented guy. And so I've heard it was really great, but I don't know if you recall what platform Royalty debuted on.
Is this a test? It was, I just remember it being a more obscure something. I want to say something like Epics or...
Nope. No,
but
Andy,
it's obscure,
and we
right?
talked about it is, well, not to us in particular.
Oh, no.
It is a platform that had a whole corner. It's a Quibi corner.
Oh,
that's
my God.
the thing. It debuted only on Quibi, which means now you can only see it, I think, on Roku because Roku bought all the assets from Quibi.
God,
so
damn Quibi.
It's... Yeah, I know. And so it really, it's so you talk about, yeah, she's done a lot of TV. Well, she's done some small screen. let's say
well,
that.
She did Red Oaks also.
All quick bites.
Red Oaks was another
Quick
one that
bites.
she had worked on a bit, right?
Yeah, right.
So,
six episodes of Red Oaks. Yeah. Was it Red Oaks another Quibi?
No, that was an Amazon, wasn't it?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
I didn't either. I just remember hearing about it. I'm looking. It is Amazon.
Well, that's better.
And that was it was another period thing, and so it seemed like something that she probably would tap into. So
yeah,
right.
So,
but at least, but that's Amy, a director that we certainly like. You know, maybe at some point we'll throw in Look Who's Talking To as a member bonus option.
Or we could just let it be there.
Or we could let it
live on in its own. Yeah, we could let it sit. That'd be okay,
I remember
too.
liking the second one. I never went beyond to the third one. So
yeah. Okay.
All right.
Bill Pope is the man behind the camera.
Yeah.
What an interesting choice.
Great choice to direct. And yeah, like you said, very interesting because this is absolutely not the sort of project that you would expect the guy who does like the Matrix films or the Spider-Man films to jump in
Baby
and
Driver.
do. It just seems so different. And who'd worked with Sam Raimi in like Darkman and Army of Darkness. And so to have him end up doing this, it just seems so out of left field. But what I loved about the conversations, listening to him talk about it, he said, he's like, what do you want it to look like? And she's like, I want it to just look happy. And
happy.
So they went through, he found tons of images from this type of story that he felt could be happy. And they looked through all the images and he's like, Heckerling knew exactly what she meant by happy. She showed me all these different things. And that's what we crafted. And it's not, the sort of look that you get with The Matrix, but it's not supposed to be. And if anything, between between him and the production design team, like the colors in this just pop. It just feels vibrant and alive. So I think that they found an absolutely beautiful way to put this together. And that's Stephen Jordan as the production designer.
So in 1992, Bill Pope was cinematographer behind Army of Darkness, as you said, with Sam Raimi. He then did Fire in the Sky with D.B. Sweeney and Robert Patrick.
That's a Big Arizona Story.
Big Arizona Story. He then did Blank Check, which was
That's the kid?
The kid with the, he gets a check for $1 million and proceeds to spend it. So it's a kind of a kid comedy. And then he does Clueless, another comedy. But right after that, he goes into Bound with the Wachowskis, Gridlocked with Tupac and Tim Roth.
Great movie.
And then one that
Zero Effect.
I might be. I loved Zero Effect. I really did.
Great
and I think it is a 6.9 on the IMDb scale, but there are few people that in my life here who understand my love of
We
that
need to
movie.
find a way to get that on the show, because
we really should.
loved that movie. We might have seen that in the theaters together when it came out. It's entirely possible.
I'm pretty sure we did. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
You have to follow, but from in front of them.
And then The Matrix, and it went from there. So
yeah, and it went from there. So what an interesting career this guy has had. I love that Bill Pope is on this particular list.
I think it's funny that it was when he did Shang-Chi a couple years ago, or last year, I guess, that he suddenly decided, I'm going to take myself more seriously. I'm now William Pope. I don't know where that came from.
On the comic book movie.
That's the one to go by William.
Yeah.
Oh, so funny.
So what did you think of the music?
I mean, very much of the time. I really enjoyed hearing some of these songs, and the way that they fit into the film, I think worked exceptionally well. And what was the band that was playing in the party? Did you know who the band was?
Absolutely I do. That was the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, friend.
Gotcha.
Oh, yeah. I saw them in concert in New York with Bim Scala Bim. It was Bim Scala Bim and the Mighty Mighty Bosstones back when ska was the thing that was okay to love. Man, there was a period.
There was that time, definitely.
Yep, it was really fun to see them show up. But it's got great soundtrack. I mean, it really, once again, this is a thing that Heckerling does really well, is pair fantastic contemporary music with her films. So, we've got Kids in America, The Muffs, Cracker, Counting Crows. It was weird. Counting Crows is like, they have a couple of songs that I think get movie play, but I feel like I don't hear a lot of them. Luscious Jackson, World Party, Radiohead, Lightning Seed, Smoking Popes, Beastie Boys, Coolio, Supergrass, Velocity Girl, and Jill Sobule with obviously Mighty Mighty Bosstones. It's great.
And that's just the soundtrack.
That's what was released.
Yeah, I mean,
the
music, I mean, it was a very expansive lineup. Like, I was watching the songs in the credits. I'm like, God, they just keep going. I mean, there's the Billie Holiday song that plays, which is that great
Do you
gag.
like Billie Holiday? I love him.
Oh my gosh, this is one that we should find all of the different songs from it and build another playlist. Yeah, there's so many great songs. I like that they even credit in the the credits the tunes from Buns of Steel 3. Somehow I have a feeling that would be a hard one to track down for the for the playlist. Oh my gosh.
Well, yeah. So music was a great fit.
Yeah, music's a great fit. I mean, it's a fun movie. I don't love it, but I do. I think it's one that I probably would connect to more had I seen it at the time. I think it definitely feels a movie of its time, but I think that's also because it so perfectly kind of encapsulates that like mid 90s feel. I don't find it dated in a way that some other films feel like past their prime. Like I'm watching it out of time. This I'm watching it and I'm enjoying the positive elements of the era, if that makes any sense.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a flamboyant film. I love it.
Yeah.
Is it a 5-star movie? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't think so, but I'm pretty sure I liked it more than you did. What's interesting about it, I would have assumed that you and I saw this together again, just because of when it was released, but it came out in July, which means we probably didn't.
Well, as you know, I only saw this for the first time a year or so ago. So,
oh, of course,
I
we've already
100%
talked about that.
did not watch this.
Yeah, but I did see it in the theater.
Summer '95.
I'm sure I did. Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, I completely missed it. But we'll talk about all that here in a minute. We're gonna hop off for a quick second. First, we're gonna play our credits.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Buzo, Oriel Novella, and Eli Kaplan. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show at truestory.fm, and if your podcast app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show. Sequels. Andy, we talked about the TV show. I know you're a big fan. You probably recorded the whole thing on VHS and put little labels on it, and it's still in your library right behind you.
It definitely had the spin-off TV show that I think ran for, was it 3 seasons?
3 years? 3 seasons?
Yeah, it was on it was ABC at first, and then it ended up on UPN when that was a thing.
Oh, remember that.
The UPN?
Wow, UPN.
So, yeah, but I mean, Heckerling was involved in this. This was something, and she thought it was very funny because she started this as a TV show. It didn't work. She ended up turning it into a movie, and then they ended up making it into a TV show. So she thought there's a little bit of humor with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was the TV show. There were a whole bunch of paperbacks aimed at kind of like the teen girl market that came out with this. There was a comic book series, and then there was a musical, the stage musical that came out in 2018. And I don't think it lasted very long, but it was out there. And then I'm curious about this. Did you ever play the video game?
Oh my goodness, Andy! I didn't even know there was a video game. YouTube.
There was
YouTube.
Yeah, they had
video
a game in 1997. It was a CD-ROM game, one of those. I don't know really what it was about. I know that they were going to do more games. They're going to do this whole series of high school games, Clueless, Mean Girls, and Pretty in Pink. And I guess they were released on PC. And I don't know. I am very curious about how these games were received. But I mean, it definitely was something, a film, a story that definitely garnered a following in all sorts of ways. And so I think that speaks to it quite a bit.
I'm watching it right now. Oh, I'm in the shareware closet. You just match clothes. That's the first thing you do.
Sounds about right.
Oh my gosh. It's amazing. It's not a good game. I can't imagine spending any time in this game.
Or money on it.
Nope, not at all.
But apparently some people were. So
it's just, you can actually mix faces. So like you put a face up on and you prepare the lip treatment, the eye treatment, the hair, and you like build characters. This is a terrible game.
It sounds like that Barbie thing
that's what
where
it
you
is.
could do that with a Barbie doll or something. Yeah.
And that's just gameplay part 1. And I think it's more tied to the show. I think the characters are like Alicia Silverstone is not in here.
No.
So that's the video game. How about award season, Andy? How did it do at award season? Did the video game win any awards?
The video game win any awards? This was enough of it was a big hit, so it definitely garnered awards. Like I said, I'm already griping about the fact that it did not get a Best Costume nomination, but it did get award nominations and wins. 6 wins, 11 other nominations. One of the big places, of course, was the MTV Movie and TV Awards. MTV was a big advertiser for this film and pushed it. It certainly tapped into their demographic. Plus, they're owned by Viacom. which is part of the Paramount family. So it made sense for them to promote this as much as possible. Alicia Silverstone won Best Female Performance and Most Desirable Female. The movie was nominated for Best Movie, but...
What a weird award. Can we just say that's a weird award?
Most Desirable Female? Yeah.
Yes. Most Desirable Female. Wow. Awful.
Well, it's MTV. What do you expect? It's, if anything, at least they also do Most Desirable Male. So, just the other nominees, Most Desirable Female, Nicole Kidman in Batman Forever, Michelle Pfeiffer in Dangerous Minds, Demi Moore in The Scarlet Letter, Sandra Bullock, While You Were Sleeping. Brad Pitt won Most Desirable Male for Seven, beating out Keanu Reeves in Walking the Clouds, Val Kilmer in Batman Forever and Heat, Antonio Banderas for Desperado, and Mel Gibson for Braveheart. Interesting lineup.
Yeah.
And then the film was nominated for Best Movie, but it lost to Seven. And this, I think, speaks to MTV. And I think a lot of people would rather the Oscars have lineups like this. But I think this is what MTV's for. Seven, Apollo 13, Dangerous Minds, and Braveheart were the 5 films nominated for Best Film. And Best Comedic Performance, Alicia Silverstone was nominated, but lost to Jim Carrey in Ace Ventura, When Nature Calls.
Weird.
Amy Heckerling was nominated for Best Screenplay, written directly for the screen by the WGA Awards, but lost to Braveheart. And the other nominations there were The American President, Mighty Aphrodite, and Muriel's Wedding.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't necessarily agree with the Jim Carrey thing. I didn't think When Nature Calls was...
Come on.
Yeah.
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I love that. I mean, the opening with the raccoon falling off the line. I mean, geez, fun stuff.
I'm not saying it wasn't funny, but I just think I like Silverstone better.
All right. You can have her. I'll take Jim Carrey.
All right. How'd it do at the box office? Did it make any money?
Well, Heckerling had a nice budget of $12 million for her film, which may seem low in Beverly Hills dollars, but is about $20 million in today's dollars. The movie opened July 21st, 1995, opposite Free Willy 2, The Adventure Home, as well as the limited releases of Kids and An Awfully Big Adventure. The movie handily took the #1 spot, bumping Apollo 13, which had been holding that spot for 3 weeks. Both films, however, got bumped the following week by Waterworld and The Net, but this still managed to do well for itself, earning $56.6 million domestically and $1.4 million internationally, for a total gross of $97.4 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of almost $800,000. Strong work, Heckerling.
Nice.
Not too shabby.
Waterworld.
Hey, I know.
Opened big.
I was there opening weekend.
Oh, I'm sure you were. Yeah.
What
Old 2x4.
What are you going to do?
Seeing if wood floats. That's what they're doing with that movie. That should have been the tagline on the poster. Does wood float? Waterworld.
Oh, you're the worst.
All right. Well, I'm glad we talked about it. I'm glad it was on this list. It sure as hell is funnier than Buffy.
It definitely is. Definitely is. And it's better than Buffy. Definitely is better than Buffy. So we will talk a little bit more about all that. But first, here's the trailer for next week's movie, Stacy Title's The Last Supper.
A storm is brewing, my friends. Someone has to stop it.
Every Sunday for about a year now, we've been inviting a guest over for dinner and discussion.
Zach, this is Mark. Oh, hey. Mark, this is Zach.
We're a bunch of damn liberals.
What are you, a Nazi?
Or is that too far to the left? Hitler had the right idea.
Excuse me?
Let this pass. We can go on with the rest of our lives.
This is terrible!
What if you kill somebody whose death makes the world a better place? The blue bottle is bad. The green bottle is good.
Everyone, this is Reverend Gerald Hutchins.
Homosexuality is the terrible disease, and AIDS is the cure.
When a woman cries rape, it's usually because she's already consented to sex.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I've never met anyone who's anti-Earth.
We're not even giving people a decent meal anymore.
The fag basher had Chinese.
Have you seen any of these men?
Ready for my wine? All right.
Brother, have you lost your mind serving me this filthy swine?
How about toast? I think we're in the clear. And would you take off those glasses and that homeboy hat? It's a secret.
fellas wouldn't know a guy could get a decent meal around here, would you?
Yes.
File this under amazing stories, my friends.
All right, Andy, what are you going to do with your review?
Over on Letterboxd, I am giving it 3 stars and a heart. It's an easy film to enjoy. I don't love it, but it's charming, and I think that's a fair place for it to sit.
I think it's too low. I think that's problematic, and I think it should be 4 stars and a heart. I'm not quite at a 5-star, but I do adore this movie. I think it's wonderful, and I think it deserves more star weight than you are giving it.
I see.
So there you go. I'm making it bigger. Making it by 1 bigger.
That will put it at a 3.5 with a heart over in our Letterboxd account, and that's where it's going to sit. So what did you think about Clueless? We want to know. Hop into the Show Talk channel in our Discord community, where we're going to be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Letterboxd does giveth. I've got a 4.5.
Ooh, that's where I went.
From Miranda Todd, who says, "Hey, everybody. Today, my brother complained about this film the whole time we were watching it, so I'm starting a Kickstarter to put him down. The benefits of killing him would be he would insult this masterpiece way less." I love it. Okay,
so funny.
What do you got?
I've got one that it's a perpetual question that we even talked about here. This is a 4.5 by Isabel, who says, "Is it incest? I still don't know." And, lots of comments on that. Some people being very serious about it. Some people being very silly about it. But plenty of people still being grossed out about it.
I got one, a 4.5-star review that I just saw, which is this is somebody who goes down and assigns all of them their, I can't remember what it's called. It's the D&D, neutrality thing. Lawful good is Josh. Neutral good is Christian. Chaotic good is Travis. Lawful neutral is Murray. True neutral is Mr. Hall. Chaotic neutral is Ty. Lawful evil is Dion. Neutral evil is Cher.
What?
Disagree. And chaotic evil is Elton, I guess. I disagree on most of those. Why would you do that to this movie?
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that. Neutral evil.
You can't just arbitrarily do that with anything just because it has 9 people in it that you can.
Right. Yeah, I don't care for it. Take it back. Okay. Thanks, Letterboxd. Andy, it's hard to believe we've been having weekly conversations about movies since 2011.
Oh, you're telling me. Producing this show week after week is so much fun, but it does require a ton of work behind the scenes. If you'd like to help support our efforts, one easy way is by using our Originals page when shopping for books and movies that we've covered.
Your purchases made through our links give us a small commission at no extra cost to you and allow us to keep having these great discussions.
The Originals page at thenextreel.com/originals has links to purchase the source material behind our adapted film discussions. Your purchases there help support the show at no extra cost.
For the entirety of season 11, we featured films directed by women.
The only exceptions were some of our member bonus episodes.
We talked about The Lure for our horror debuts series, which is a very loose adaptation of The Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen.
Definitely miles from the Disney versions.
For our 10-year anniversary series, we covered We Need to Talk About Kevin, taken from the Lionel Shriver novel.
Man, that was brilliant.
And horrifying.
Yeah. The Journalist series included Merrily We Go to Hell and The Weight of Water, adapted from Anita Shreve's bestseller.
We filled some gaps in previous series with member bonus episodes on adaptations like Malcolm X, Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, Cactus Flower, Wild at Heart, Life Force, and The Blues Brothers.
Our John Hurd series looked at a trio of adaptations: Chilly Scenes of Winter from the novel by Ann Beatty, Awakenings based on Oliver Sacks' nonfiction book, and Rambling Rose adapted from the Calder Willingham novel.
2 films in our coming-of-age debuts series were adapted from books: The Virgin Suicides from Jeffrey Eugenides and The Diary of a Teenage Girl, Phoebe Glockner's graphic novel.
We had Queen of Katwe for our sports series based on Tim Crothers' nonfiction book.
And Clueless kicked off our 90s comedy series, loosely adapted from Jane Austen's Emma.
It totally took place in the 90s, though. Find all of these books and more adaptations on our originals page at thenextreel.com/originals.
Start your next read from the movies we've covered. Visit thenextreel.com/originals today.